So just for verbal attendance of board members starting furthest to my left, please state your name for the record.
Vasilio Supos.
Scott Nelson.
Alex Kamalevich.
Julie Moon.
James Dolan.
Jessica Pritzker.
All right, welcome to our meeting, May 18th. We are now going to move to our approval section. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second, Dolan.
Gabby, may I have a roll call vote?
Moon,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Pritzker,
Aye.
Kamalevich,
Aye.
Gilio, Dolan,
Aye.
Supos.
Motion carries. Now I'd like to ask for an approval of the April 20th regular and executive session minutes. Could I have a motion and a second?
Second, Pritzker.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we're going to reorganize our board. We do this every 2-3 years whenever we have a new election or when we're changing roles. I'd like to ask for a motion and a second to approve James Dolan as the President Pro Tem to convene the organizational meeting until permanent officers are elected.
So moved. Kamalevich.
Second, Moon.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. James, welcome.
Well, thank you. This is my 15 seconds of fun. So I want to just acknowledge very briefly our outgoing board members, Scott and Alex, for everything they've done over the last few years, and congratulate them. So now I'm going to call for nominations from the board, and we are going to start with the nominations for president. Can I have a motion and a second to confirm Alex Kamalevich as president?
So moved, Nelson.
Second, Gilio.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, motion passes. Congratulations, Alex. I'm now going to, yes. I will now turn this over to Alex to continue the board business.
I'd like to move on to election of the board vice president. Can I ask for a nomination or a motion and a second to confirm Eva Gilio as vice president?
So moved, Pritzker.
Second, Supos.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed? Congratulations to Eva. Vice president. Next, we'll move on to election, or in this case, re-election of the board secretary. Can I have a motion and a second to confirm James Dolan to continue as board secretary?
So moved, Nelson.
Second, Moon.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And motion carries. Congratulations, James. Thank you again.
Back in the seat of power.
Very, very unsung role there. And last but definitely not least, we'd like to reconfirm Gabby Anderson as the recording secretary. Can I have a motion and a second to confirm Gabby Anderson as the recording secretary?
So moved, Pritzker.
Second, Dolan.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations, Gabby. Okay, and then before we move around, let's just, again, for verbal attendance of board members, starting furthest to my left, please state your name for the record.
Vasilio Supos.
Eva Gilio.
Scott Nelson.
Alex Kamalevich.
Julie Moon.
James Dolan.
Jessica Pritzker.
All right, and then I think we're gonna
Shuffle.
do, musical chairs. So everyone talks amongst yourselves.
Get all official.
Oh, thank you. You're the best.
I heard them talking about it. I was like, oh. Oh, yeah.
All right,
No.
while Gabby is finishing that, I do want to say, Scott has been on the board for 7 years and has been president for 5, which, just in case you're not clear, is a lot. Every board president's tenure definitely has a kaleidoscope of challenges, and Scott's has been no different. He has met them with a lot of thoughtfulness, constructiveness, humility, and good humor. So, Scott, thank you very much for your service, and we're looking forward to you now being the backbencher guy who just throws stuff in there from the peanut gallery, and eventually we'll have to seat you way over there. So, congratulations, Scott. Thank you again. Did you want to say anything real quick?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the board members for really making this job worthwhile and happy to do, especially the administration. I've been enjoying partnership with them also. And I want to thank you guys for taking over leadership. I think we're in a better place, especially with you two at the table. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. And Dr. Deli, we are finally able to move to the communications section.
Excellent. Welcome to all of our guests this evening. Thank you for coming out tonight. We do have a very special guest who we're going to get to in just a second. I have an important setup for this, but District 34 is a partner with Infinitec to provide a comprehensive education that supports technology and access to communication. Each year, Infinitec hosts an awards night where it recognizes students for their outstanding work using instructional technology. And we're excited to recognize 2 of our students tonight. And so, Aaron Ross, would you like to come up and help us introduce in more detail our guests this evening?
Thank you, Dr. Deli. I'm so excited and proud that we have 2 winners this year. Our first winner is Silas Ewing Ellis, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight but is watching on the live stream, and he's an 8th grader here at ATIA. And we have Chloe Pearson, a 1st grader at Westbrook, and both of them have demonstrated an extreme amount of growth and progress using their communication devices. And this is Chloe. Chloe, can you pass this around so everyone can see what your communication device looks like?
I have great teachers.
Can you show everyone your tablet? So let's celebrate both of our winners tonight. We have 2 amazing videos to showcase their achievements using their communication devices. It's a funny video. It is a funny video.
Silas is a 13-year-old student at Atea Middle School in Glenview School District 34. His teachers describe him as an incredibly hard-working learner who brings a powerful mindset to everything he does. Known for his positive attitude, Silas has become a leader in his classroom, demonstrating that with the right tools, there's no limit to what he can achieve. To navigate his education and share his voice, Silas utilizes a sophisticated array of assistive technology. His primary communication system is an iPad with the Touch Chat Word Power communication app. Because of physical challenges that affect his fine motor control, Silas skillfully operates his device, allowing him to navigate complex vocabulary with precision and speed. The impact of this technology on Silas's academic life has been profound. He has demonstrated a remarkable increase in self-advocacy, taking the lead in expressing his preferences and participating actively in the general education curriculum. Silas is highly motivated to use his voice throughout the school day, rarely requiring prompting to engage with his peers or share his thoughts during lessons. His ability to troubleshoot and manage his own equipment has earned him the reputation of a true technology expert among his teachers. Beyond his academic success, Silas's vibrant personality is what truly defines him. He is a dedicated fan of the Chicago Cubs and a massive music lover with a particular affinity for the band Queen. It's not uncommon to find Silas using his technology to request his favorite anthem, Bohemian Rhapsody, or to initiate a social interaction with a clever joke. Whether he is cheering on for his team or mastering a new classroom task, Silas approaches life with joy and determination. Please join us in celebrating Silas, a resilient and talented communicator whose mastery of technology and infectious spirit highlights the power of discovering one's unique voice. Congratulations, Silas. on being chosen for the 2026 Infinitec Outstanding Student Technology Award. Chloe is a 7-year-old student who attends Westbrook School in Glenview School District 34. Chloe is a bright, hardworking, and eager learner. Chloe has autism and has experienced difficulties expressing herself. She has received speech and language therapy from early ages, exploring different modes of communication. Currently, Chloe communicates using an iPad with Touch Chat application and WordPower 108 vocabulary set. She first began using AAC in 2021. Chloe always demonstrated interest in communicating. She uses gestures, facial expressions, sign language, and low-tech core word boards. A year later, Chloe received her own speech-generating device. After beginning a 60-word vocabulary layout, Chloe successfully transitioned to a larger 108 vocabulary set, quickly generalizing where words and symbols were located and becoming even more efficient in her communication. Today, Chloe's AAC system truly functions as an extension of her voice. Chloe confidently uses her device throughout her day to greet others, ask and answer questions, share information, and express her ideas. Her device allows her teachers and classmates to fully see the depth of her understanding and the personality behind it. Chloe's communication skills extend beyond the classroom. She uses her device during art, music, and physical education, as well as during therapy and group activities. On community outings, Chloe independently orders food, interacts with staff in stores, and engages in conversations with teachers and peers. What makes Chloe especially remarkable is how naturally she incorporates her AAC device into every part of her life. At home, she enjoys imaginative play, dressing up as superheroes, playing with dolls, and building with Legos, blocks, trains, and cars. She also loves spending time with her twin sister and older brother. Together, the family enjoys swimming, riding bikes, ice skating, and visiting trampoline parks. Chloe is curious, imaginative, and eager to share what she knows with the world. Her AAC device has given her the freedom to communicate anytime, anywhere, and with anyone. Congratulations, Chloe, on being selected as 2026 Infinitec Outstanding Student Technology Award recipient.
Okay, if we could come take a picture, that'd be great.
We'd love that.
Thank you.
Okay, look right over here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Erin, for all of your hard work. We appreciate that. I would also like to take a few minutes this evening to speak to our families, staff, and community members regarding concerns that have been raised with respect to student behavior, classroom disruptions, and related communication. As educators, many of us parents ourselves, we understand the importance of every child feeling safe, supported, and ready to learn each day when they come to school. Additionally, we recognize that public schools serve students with a wide range of academic, behavioral, and social-emotional needs. Supporting all learners in an inclusive environment while maintaining a safe and welcoming climate requires ongoing reflection, strong systems of support, a trained staff, and collaboration. This work is tied directly to our district's strategic plan goal of creating positive learning environments that engage all learners. As we've shared in previous communications on this topic, our teaching and learning department has met with staff across all 8 school buildings to hear directly from them about strengths, challenges, and areas where additional support may be needed for them to do their work effectively. Those conversations were thoughtful, they were honest and productive, and resulted in several action items, many of which were already in process. I would like to note a few, however. First, next year, all staff will participate in a district-wide training centered on the regulated classroom. We are currently partnering with the North Cook Intermediate Service Center to provide the Student Advocate Program, otherwise known as ALOP, at the middle schools. That's currently happening. And starting in the fall, we will begin expanding the program to the intermediate buildings. Next year, we increased associate allocations at the primary buildings. Also in the fall, we will be adding a 1.0 allocation for adapted physical education to support students across the district. We also understand that communication is important. We have been working on a more standardized communication protocol for classroom disruptions that will be shared with families later this week. Following the listening tour, our teams have been working to come up with supportive solutions, and we have started to share that information with staff. I also want to acknowledge that this work is complex, but we're committed to doing the hard work. State laws guide how schools respond to student behavior and discipline, and these laws emphasize supportive intervention, restorative approaches, and safety. Additionally, the world of public education is ever-changing, and adapting to the needs of students, families, and school communities remains the cornerstone of our work, and we're committed to continually working thoughtfully and collaboratively. Most importantly, I would like everyone to know that we care deeply about every child who attends school in this district. We care about the students who are thriving, the students who are struggling, the students who need additional support, and the students whose learning experiences may be impacted when challenges arise in the classroom. Every child deserves to feel safe, valued, supported, and connected to our schools. So I just want to thank everyone for your partnership and your continued feedback. Thank you.
At our last board meeting, we heard from many district parents about student safety and the classroom environment. As board president, I want to address those comments and the energy behind them that led so many members of our parent community to come out and talk on April the 20th. First, the board welcomes public comment and participation in all its forms, be it speaking at a board meeting, emailing the board, participating in a PTA, or any of the many ways one can become involved with a district and make their voice heard. The relationship between a board and its community is only improved by open communication, and we welcome anyone's interest in observing and learning how the board and district conduct business, even if it includes a 15-minute discussion on the price of natural gas, as at our last meeting. The board does not take any concerns regarding safety lightly, including the situations that were raised at our last meeting. All the members of our board are parents, and the majority have children in District 34 schools right now. Every story shared about children's experiences at our last meeting and those shared directly with us since the meeting affect us personally. One of the core principles of District 34 is inclusion, and I'm glad to share that the word inclusion has been repeatedly shared in the many discussions and other forms of feedback since our last board meeting. The message we received is that our parent and teacher community believe strongly in inclusion and finding ways to provide the best possible environment in which all children can thrive. It is this board's desire and duty to support them in those efforts. In the time since our last board meeting, you have likely seen communications from the district, the details of which were echoed by Dr. Deli in his comments just now. These communications, such as our May 1st parent newsletter, regard actions that were in motion prior to our April board meeting. As a board, we hope that these actions will allow our district to finish up the year in a way that continues to make all children feel welcomed and safe. In addition, Dr. Deli has shared some of the longer-term efforts in which the district has engaged, aiming to evolve and continuously improve our provision of supports and quality of our communications. Every school district should seek to continuously improve on all fronts, none as important as this. And I believe this district has a long history of thoughtful and consistent improvement. Nevertheless, the best improvement efforts are those that seek to incorporate feedback in an inclusive and constructive manner. Or, put more simply, we welcome the public's feedback and will include it as we move forward with improvements to our school environment. Feedback should not be a one-time thing, however. We encourage you to continue to speak up, engage with the board, the administration, and your local schools, and keep us informed on how things are going. While each of us on the board have our own network of fellow parents who are friends and neighbors, one of our duties and desires is to ensure we hear from as many voices and as great a variety of voices as possible. To that end, I would like to share that as we enter the next school year this fall, the board will commit to specific listening engagements with the parent community. We will share more details about these efforts as the plans are finalized. The nature of these opportunities will be to listen and gather feedback that can help inform the district's continuing improvement efforts. These listening engagements should not replace your engagement with your local schools and the district itself. This is very important. Each school is a community, and everyone from the parents, board, administration, teachers, and students have a hand in crafting that community. In closing, I would like to again thank those who have taken the time to share their thoughts and experiences on this and other topics with the board as a whole, and board members individually, the administration, and staff of the local schools. The best schools have an engaged and vibrant community that surrounds them, and District 34 is blessed to have such a community. Thank you for your continued support, and please continue to engage with us. And with that, we are going to move on to the audience comments section of our agenda. This is the first opportunity for audience comments. Anyone wishing to address the board can submit a comment card available at the check-in table and give it to the Executive Director of Communications and Strategic Planning. The Executive Director will call community members who submit cards forward. They will be asked to introduce themselves and describe their relationship to the district. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Please know that the board will be taking notes, but we will be in listening mode only, and an appropriate response will be given in a timely manner. We also ask that you submit 1 comment per opportunity. There will be a second section in the agenda for comments later on. Rebecca, do we have any comments?
We do. The first one is Ella Bloomer.
Good evening, school board members. My name is Ella Bloomer, and I'm a psychologist and a District 34 parent with a 6th grader at Springman, a 4th grader at Pleasant Ridge, a 1st grader, and a kindergartner at Lions School. I'm here to continue the conversation regarding the use of tech in our classrooms. My family's first experience with tech was when my 6th grader was in kindergarten. And school shut down during COVID. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Hello?
Sorry.
Hello?
Yes. Okay. Okay. Good evening, school board members. My name is Ella Bloomer, and I'm a psychologist and a District 34 parent with a 6th grader at Springman, a 4th grader at Pleasant Ridge, and 1st grader and kindergartner at Lions School. I'm here to continue the conversation regarding the use of tech in our classrooms. My family's first experience with tech was when my 6th grader was in kindergarten and school shut down during COVID. During that time, the iPad he was provided was meant to be a connection to his teacher, his classmates, and to help him continue learning. Since we have come out of COVID, I've been waiting for the district to scale back the tech use in the classroom. For many kids, the first personal tech device they receive is from school, which takes that monumental decision out of the hands of parents. It is something that we have all accepted without questioning the longer-term impact it will have on our children and their brain development. It also sets up frequent ongoing points of conflict between parents and kids and teachers and students. I often hear about students, my own included, getting into trouble for being off task, being on YouTube, gaming websites during class instruction time. Classroom time is eaten up by redirection with how to use tech appropriately and repeatedly asking kids to put their iPads away. Essentially, we are asking kids to have more self-control around technology than most of us adults do. Here are my observations of watching my own kids navigate this powerful device, as well as hearing from other parents, neighbors, friends. While my younger kids rarely use their iPads, I often notice my older kids flipping between apps when they're supposed to be doing their work, being easily distracted and struggling to have the discipline to complete their work straight through. When iPads come home, they're often brought out under the guise of checking work, but it eventually moves into using them for entertainment. It often puts more work on parents to monitor and decipher when work is being done. I've also observed that the use of tech slowly adds up as kids move through the grades. Through the gamifying of education websites such as Prodigy and Kahoots, studying for a test, learning math, or writing an essay are expected to be entertaining. We are depriving our kids of learning how to do sustained, hard, maybe what they would even call boring work, the type of work that they will have to do as they grow and enter the workforce. While there is an argument for teaching kids how to use technology, what I have observed more of is kids using voice activation instead of typing out their work, kids struggling to spell, struggling to have decent penmanship, and using AI to do research as opposed to going to the library, checking out books, and reading through multiple texts to find the answers. The iPad has become both a shortcut and a handicap to getting work done. There's a lot of research on why younger students should not be provided iPads, but I'm also concerned about the cumulative effect on students in later elementary and middle school. They seem to lack a set of skills because these skills are outsourced to their iPads. My hope is that we become more intentional with having children use more physical books, write with pen and paper, and in having to do things slowly and intentionally. In sharing what I've observed in my own kids, I'm asking the board to establish a daily time limit on iPad use, as well as to reflect on which skills we want children to cultivate offline. The Los Angeles Unified School District Board voted to restrict student use of tablets in class, and I'm hoping District 34 can follow suit. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment.
The next is Jessica Colson Chihilevsky.
It's close. It's hard.
Oh, does my time restart? Okay, thanks. I'll try and talk fast. Okay. Good evening. My name is Jessica Colson Chihilevsky, and I'm a mom of 2 children. My oldest attends Hanking. I'm also an alumna of D34, having attended Hanking, Hoffman, and Springman. I'm here tonight as part of a community group of parents, former educators, and former school board members who came together in response to concerns about significant behavioral disruptions in our elementary schools. Specifically, the impact of these disruptions on emotional and physical safety, learning, and the inconsistencies in actions related to discipline, communication, and accountability. We have addressed the board during the April meeting, and since then have heard from more parents and community members about their very concerning experiences. We would like to acknowledge board members Alex Kamilevich and Julie Moon for taking the gravity of the situation seriously and for meeting with a group of parents to begin getting their own data points from families in the district. We understand that other board members have had similar conversations with parents and families around the district over the past month. We are encouraged by the sincerity of these listening sessions and hope that they will yield solutions that can create consistently safer learning environments and more transparent communications for all staff, students, and their families. We also appreciate the recent D34 family newsletter outlining upcoming initiatives around staffing, training, and student support services. It's helpful to learn that those steps are being initiated, and we're hoping to better understand what they will look like in practice in the classrooms. We want to be very clear that we strongly support inclusive education. This conversation is not against inclusive efforts. We do not believe inclusion is the root cause of the challenges we are discussing around safety in the classroom. We are questioning the system of supports in place and we're asking for more information and solutions so that all children and staff can experience a physically and emotionally safe learning environment. We would like to learn more about how you will measure change and what data points you will access to track change. We also ask you to reassess your recently approved policies 7:180 for prevention and response to bullying, intimidation, and harassment, and 6:60 curriculum content, as they address situations that tend to occur in our intermediate and middle school settings versus the K-2 student population. Additionally, we strongly encourage the creation of a stakeholder group this summer to include administration, teachers, and parents with the mission of co-creating and evaluating solutions and rebuilding trust between the community and the school district. Our children, staff, and the community are counting on all of us to do our part. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
And our next is Elias.
Hi, I'm Elias Tarkowski, a 6th grade student at Springman. And so the thing is, half of my friends go to Atia and I don't see them anymore, so I thought of this idea where there's like cross-school events like every Friday for after school, so you could like be reunited with your friends that go to different schools. And it really hurts because my best friends go to Atia, and it is hard when I have friends at Springman, but they're nothing like my friends at Atia. So once a week on Fridays, there should be where students from both basically any school in District 34 meet up, and then there's like some 2 hours worth of like fun activity or something, like games and fun activities like for 2 hours, so then people could be like with their friends. And like it just really hurts when you don't have your best friend with you. And the thing is, every time I ask them to hang out, they can't, so that makes it a concern. That's why I brought this up, so that people could see their friends more, and like the events should be there's like 1 week at Springman and then 1 week at Atia, and whether there's like games, snacks, drinks, basically anything, and then it's just like for 2 hours from like 5 to 7 p.m. So that's what I hope you guys consider. I guess that's all I have to say. So, yeah, that's what I have to say.
Thank you very much for your comments.
And finally, Michael Tarkowski.
Good job, my son. Good evening. My name is Michael Tarkowski, and I'm a parent of a 6th grader at Springman. And I kind of want to echo the previous comment regarding iPads. They do have their uses, but I do find that it can be a very big distraction for the students. Recently, as if I'm trying to navigate the system in Schoology with my son, kind of preparing for exams or quizzes, and I'll ask him, where is your source material? And he has no idea how to show me where he's getting his preparation for his study guides that will be blank, and we'll ask him various the example I use is in social studies, they had a picture of a 19th century wagon, and they had all these words. And I said, well, where did you learn about these words? Can you show me the source material for these words? Because no one's going to ask you to identify parts of this wagon without some kind of introductory material. And recently trying to help him navigate for another social studies, I found it very disruptive and very unmanageable to go from the study guide to the various folders that you have to navigate to figure out where you're finding your information. You grab the little bit of information, you got to scroll back to a different application to read the question again, then you have to go back to the source material again. So I do, again, concur that they are being used more as a crutch, and he's unable to do any independent research. And I found it very unusable in my being very old school. And so at least I think that the district should have a training day for parents so that they can understand how this technology is used, because I really was quite frustrated to figure out how we navigate between Schoology and all these other applications to try to help them learn. And I have noticed a huge difference in his penmanship from hanking through being in first and second grade through sixth grade. So I think that there's a way that can be used, such as textbooks. I think that would be helping the students become much more in-depth learners as opposed to just skimming for answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have any more comments for this section?
That's all I have at this time.
All right, we're going to move on to the consideration of resolutions, the consent agenda. These are number 1, the 26-032 personnel report, number 2, the 26-033 payroll warrants, number 3, the 26-034 vendor warrants, and number 4, the 26-035 board meeting dates. Did anyone have any questions or comments before we vote on this? Okay. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved, Gilio.
Second. Scott knows.
Gabby, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Gilio,
Aye.
Kemalevich.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Supos.
Aye.
Moon.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Pritzker.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, so we're now going to move on to consideration of other resolutions, the first one being 26-036, ELA curriculum resource adoption. I believe I'm turning it over to you, Dr. Silverman.
I'm making sure it works. All right, well, good evening. All right, I'll use my playground voice, I'll talk close, I'll use my DJ voice, we'll get this thing rocking and rolling. Okay, so tonight we are.
Wait, is that the one that's not working?
Oh, it's still not working?
Yeah, because we want people online to hear, so.
Okay, yeah. Check, mic check.
I
All
see,
right.
there you go.
Okay, let me just start the slideshow here. Okay. So last month, we were talking about our littlest learners. Now we're talking about our biggest learners. Equally exciting. I love coming to and presenting resources for our children. We did have a little preview bag for you that we're going to showcase as some hands-on show and tell for the board and a glimpse of the curriculum itself. So I'm going to move through the slides. I do have with us Katie Harvey and Jenny Fellman, two outstanding instructional coaches. They're amazing. The engagement in this process, which has really been many years now, is exceptional. The details, the depth of understanding of the Illinois learning standards, their relationships with our teachers and staff is just outstanding, and that's what brings us together. So I want to start with thanking them. In terms of our other crew, you've heard me say this so many times, we feel like we need to test and research and do our homework when we're talking about bringing resources to our children and to our classrooms. Our goal is to find the best fit and the best experience to maximize the potential of our children. And this group of teachers took a tremendous amount of effort, time, changes, redoing lessons, all the work that it takes to make piloting happen. And one particular expert with us is Claire Bansberg. You all know Claire, I think, very well. But she is an example of a teacher that was willing to jump into the pilot process. And again, for this particular school year, teach with these different materials and give us feedback. So it is a huge investment. Thank you so much. If you're watching on YouTube, my massive gratitude and appreciation. So as we always start our projects with our children, our teaching and learning process, our pedagogy, all of the critical elements that we want to experience throughout the school day, we have a goal, and this is the particular goal. This go-around for our goal, we're talking about Tier 1. And sometimes I bring to you different types of our multi-tiered system of support. In this case, we're talking about our foundational level, our entry point into all of our classrooms. And this is where we look to establish a guaranteed and viable curriculum. And this is where we look for equitable learning experiences, vertical alignment, horizontal alignment, instruction and assessments. And so really it's everything and anything that we refer to when bringing a comprehensive experience to our children. In this case, we're talking about English language arts, 6th through 8th grade. As we talked last time, relative to our strategic plan, there's not a real specific drive in terms of Tier 1 core curriculum, but in the objectives, underneath the goal of creativity and innovation, we do discuss and concentrate on growth in terms of achievement and overall student growth in terms of our benchmark assessments. And so you'll see those in objectives underneath creativity and innovation. The other element that we really honed in on in this particular pilot, because we did indeed engage our students in the pilot process and the assessment process, is engagement and learning. And actually it will touch upon different themes of the night, and then finally professional development. And so those three objectives underneath creativity and innovation is the alignment to the strategic plan. I'm going to turn the presentation over to our coaches, and they're going to share with you some more details about our approach.
It's not on. Here we go. All right. Okay, so as you look up at the slide, this is the 2024 Illinois Comprehensive Literacy Plan. As we move forward with curriculum adoption, it's important that we ground our work and our research on this framework. As we were looking at the framework, we really focused on every learner is capable and has the right to equitable access to high quality, inclusive, differentiated, and evidence-based literacy instruction. We also wanted to address that every learner deserves a reliable and valid assessments. So we used this literacy plan as we built our foundation on evaluating and adapting our new ELA curriculum.
Our district's strategic plan aligns directly with the Illinois Comprehensive Literacy Plan. Under the goal of creativity and innovation, we are ensuring that relevant learning experiences nurture curiosity, foster agency, inspire engagement and achievement for our students. By adopting a comprehensive ELA resource, we're working toward increased growth and achievement across all student groups, students displaying more of the dispositions we value, increased engagement in learning, and more professional learning opportunities for our staff. Everything we do from the classroom level to a board level feeds into our strategic plan. and the curriculum we adopt will be a critical tool in achieving these goals.
All right, let's look at some research. So we use 2 research evidence-based models as our as we looked at our foundational literacy instruction. We looked at the active view of reading and the skilled writing model. On the left side, you'll see the active view of reading with Duke and Cartwright. This model shows us that reading isn't just about decoding words. It involves the 4 interconnected components: word recognition, language comprehension, active self-regulation, and bridging processes. Each of these components work together to produce skilled readers. On the right side, you'll see the writing rope. Similar to reading, writing involves multiple strands coming together. The rope highlights critical thinking, text structure, syntax, writing craft, and transcription. As we evaluated our program, we looked at these resources and research models to make sure that they were all addressed and not just isolated skills.
Our adoption process is grounded in both state and national standards. We are aligning to 2 key frameworks: the 2024 Illinois Comprehensive Literacy Plan, which we just reviewed, and the Common Core State Standards, the National College and Career Readiness Standards that ensure our students are prepared for what comes next. Any resource we considered for adoption needed to align with both of these frameworks. It wasn't about following mandates blindly. It was about ensuring that our students receive instruction that meets rigorous, evidence-based standards and prepares them for success beyond District 34.
So we like to do our local research and just see what other districts have decided to do in similar situations. One overlay here that's of interest is the amount of Study Sync. That's a program, a published program, because that was one of our pilots. And so you'll see that come up again, but just to bring your attention to the number of districts in the area. And we have a really long list, but for the purpose of tonight, just so you know that we do look at other districts, and this is sort of the theme we found out in the universe of English language arts curriculum.
Okay, so just a quick review of our pilot timeline. Our pilot process was both intentional and collaborative. We began our work last spring when we researched comprehensive ELA curricula. We met with representatives from several local districts, both assistant superintendents for teaching and learning and coaches, and we narrowed down the options to what we felt would be the best fit for a comprehensive ELA curriculum for us here in District 34. Last summer in June, we brought in representatives from 4 different programs, and we had a group of teachers and administrators that met together, and we evaluated each program based on some research-aligned criteria. And we voted on 2 programs that we decided to move forward and recommend to a pilot, and that was Study Sync ELA and Arts and Letters. So that pilot process began this trimester, or I'm sorry, the first trimester last fall with Study Sync ELA, and then here in trimester 3, we conducted an Arts and Letters pilot.
So just for your reference, here are the 4 programs that we looked at. The teachers, the coaches, we met together in the summer and looked over all 4 programs. We had criteria for each one, and as Katie said, we narrowed it down to Study Sync, ELA, and Arts and Letters. We believe that both programs offered strong alignment to our standards and research models. But ultimately, piloting them in the real classroom gave us that experience we needed to make the best decision for our students and for the teachers.
So for this particular process, we looked at these different categories to make a decision. I have to say, the most exciting and engaging feedback was the student feedback. It was outstanding to read hundreds and hundreds of feelings of children that range from super engaged to, English language arts is all right. It's a thing, but it was very insightful. We love that part. The teacher and coach feedback, again, Jenny and Katie spent a lot of time collaborating with teachers, gaining observational information, just this sense of what the teachers were feeling, believing, because it is so personal to their craft and the work that they do. We did traditional surveying of teachers, and co-teachers were a significant factor of this process as well, so that key piece was included. You heard about the alignment, and then that last piece, the program structure, and especially as the world is shifting in a direction, but we did look at print versus digital, as you can see in that criteria. And also this notion of whole novels, which are books, novels, yes, that's how you say it, that's what they are, versus excerpts or short text, which has its place, but again, it's something that we really looked at, maybe the old school type of anthology concept versus, again, authentic literature that would be presented in books and novels. So with that, we want to share another element before the decision, and I'm going to have Claire talk about this part.
Sure, thank you, Matt. We are so grateful for all of the robust board participation we have in our standing committee structure in the district, and Jessica and Vasilios have been particularly thoughtful EDCO members this year, but we just wanted to give a brief overview of the active role that EDCO plays in the pilot process for this pilot and all pilots. So as Katie mentioned, a year ago in May, our pilot plan was originally presented to EDCO. It's a really wonderful and unique opportunity for educators at all of our grade bands to engage with curricula, even if it's not directly going to be used in their classrooms. So in this case, our primary and intermediate members of the committee can gain a deeper sense of where their students are headed as readers and writers and speakers. The flip side of that, love to see the pilots in our primary and intermediate classrooms, just to kind of get a sense of where my students are coming from. So all of that was, and EDCO was updated throughout the process leading up to just last week when they got a sneak peek of this presentation. So thank you to our board participants.
So this is the part in the presentation where I was going to light off the fireworks because it's a decision, but Steve said it's too dangerous, so I'm going to defer on the fireworks. But here's a decision. We're presenting to you this evening arts and letters. You have in the, I feel like Wizard of Oz, red cachet of little, yes, student samples, which we thought you would find very enjoyable. Those you can keep because they're pretty cool. Handwritten samples that you can see how children were responding to prompts, written stories, that whole experience. And then the types of literature that will be experienced and some other components I'm going to turn over to our experts, and they're going to take you on a little tour.
All right, so if you open up the Canvas tote, we're just going to tell you kind of the resources that both students and teachers are going to use. So the first one is the Learn Book. We're going to have Vanna over here. Look at the Learn Book. Okay, so the Learn Book is the student workbook that includes articles, poems, graphic organizers, and other materials to support the engagement and the learning. The Prologue provides language building previews and practice activities for EL, bilingual, and students who have language disabilities. The Teach Book is the teacher edition that the teachers are going to use that provides that rigorous instruction and guidance for the teachers. And then the core texts, which you will find in your red basket, those are the texts that are in modules 1 through 4, various grade levels in each of the baskets. And those, again, are knowledge-rich trade books. And there's also texts that are included that build that lasting knowledge that we will achieve with this program. All
Right, so inside those yellow folders that Matt referred to earlier, you'll find a packet of resources from each grade level's pilot experience this trimester. The packet's organized into sections for 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. So the first page of each section highlights the module title, essential question, and then the featured visual art piece. The next page gives you a preview of the module texts and resources, including the core books, the visual texts, nonfiction articles, poetry, and videos. And then that page is followed by an outline of the module's learning goals. The following pages include, as Matt said, sample Learn workbook pages that were completed by our students in the pilot classrooms. Those samples include annotated nonfiction articles and poetry. You'll see graphic organizers and writing planners from each of the modules. And then lastly, we included some student writing samples. So each module contains multiple writing tasks connected to the module's topic and theme. So those are included at the end of each grade level section.
Katie, and I can speak just briefly to our experience in the 7th grade language arts classroom this last trimester. I think as a natural follow-up to our ongoing conversation around striving for a balanced approach to technology use in the classroom, this, as Katie and Jenny mentioned, this curriculum is very analog by design, and I think our students found that to be incredibly refreshing, especially at the middle school level. We are actively working on developing their executive functioning skills, and early on in the term, multiple students expressed like it's just so refreshing for it to be right here in one workbook, and I don't have multiple tabs open, and I don't have to go searching for that rubric. So that was lovely to see that response from students. We were able to bring our workbooks out to the amphitheater, enjoy the sunshine. So that definitely is a highlight of the program from my vantage point. As Katie mentioned, there is a visual art component to this, hence the name Arts and Letters. So we spent our trimester in the Middle Ages. Mr. President, I know you're a medieval historian, you'll have to come join us. But we, for instance, had a medieval wood carving that we were analyzing alongside the narrative novels that we were reading this term, and kind of the students were able to make cross, genre, across medium, thematic connections throughout the term. So that was unique, and they loved being art historians for a few weeks there. There's a fluency component to Arts and Letters, which is really unique at the middle school level. You tend to think of us actively building fluency skills in our students more at the primary, but speaking and listening skills are absolutely essential beyond their pre-K-8 experience, and select passages from our texts were practiced actively by our students for their pacing and their expression, and they really loved that kind of more performative component to it too. They would formally, record those as part of their assessment. Finally, I'll just mention we're working on a narrative piece where they are writing from the perspective of a medieval teenager who encounters someone of a different social class, and they're just having a lot of fun playing with language. I've gotten a lot of questions this week, like, Miss Bonswick, how would they say pajamas back then, or how would they say girlfriend? So we're having a lot of fun with that narrative structure, and it's been a successful term. All right, this is where the real fun begins, because this is our implementation plan. So you'll notice we have some dates for the end of this year all the way till next year. This Thursday, we're going to train all the non-ELA pilot teachers, LBS 1, EL, and bilingual co-teachers on Arts and Letters. June 4th, we're going to have a scope and sequence review with all teachers. A highlight is June 10th. All administrators are going to go through some Arts and Letters training. And then also we'll have in August an Institute Day, half-day training for co-teachers on differentiation and the prologue resource. And then another half day with all the ELA teachers. September 11th, we're also going to continue our implementation, along with having some release time to explore the modules throughout the year, so the teachers truly feel supported in implementing this program.
So the request, our recommendation, is that we engage in an initial 3-year purchase. And I apologize, your slide references fiscal year 2027. After consulting with Michael, we're looking actually at fiscal year 2026. We're going to purchase tomorrow, I hope, and start receiving the materials as soon as possible. So what we're looking at initially is the $259,000. The piece to this, though, is that we are buying 3 years of the workbooks, the digital access, the teacher access, and initially the novels from the publisher, just to set the foundation and make sure that we're literally all on the same page. But subsequent years, we think we can outsource the novel purchasing a little cheaper, and there's actually a local company that is great to work with, and so there'll be additional purchasing second and third year for the novels, because our goal is to actually consume the novels. We're going to notate in them, annotate, write, and so we'll also experiment with how many novels we're going to consume, which continues to sound so weird, like we're going to eat them or something, but we're not going to eat the novels, but we were going to use them to the point where we can't reuse them year over year. So we'll kind of play around with that. So we don't think it will be any more than $60,000 on an annual process or yearly basis to replenish the novels. So that's kind of the setup. So it's the $259 for the first year, and then the second and third year for all of the core curricular materials, and then we'll continue to purchase novels depending on how we use them. With that, we're gonna collect the books and the materials, not the folders, if you wish to keep them. Sorry, we got to take them back because we're going to use them for PD Thursday. But if you have any questions or thoughts as we take back the materials, we are open.
Thank you for a great hands-on presentation once again. Really appreciate it. Questions from the board? Go ahead, Gene.
Yes,
I was going to say, does Scott want to lead us off now? He's not, down here with the rest of us.
He's
It's an unfamiliar view from the side. Do you want to go, Scott?
I was wondering, are the teachers that are getting the training, are they going to be able to take some of this home over the summer if they want to use some of their summertime?
Yes, it's a great question. We,
I know it's their time.
but a lot of them are eager to. Yes, so they will have digital access to all of the modules online. The print materials won't be in at the end of the school year. However, each teacher will receive a tote similar to the ones you have in front of you with all of the core texts for the grade level that they are expected to teach next year. And that is all of our ELA teachers and co-teachers. So any of our LBS 1s, EL, or BL teachers that are supporting our ELA classes, they will get a tote, as well as our reading specialists, LRC directors, multilingual teachers, anybody who's supporting ELA will get a text set so they can enjoy their books over the summer break if they wish. Yeah.
Just trying to take anxiety away.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That was our thought as well. Yep.
Thank you for the presentation, hands-on, and very collaborative. I appreciate that. I'm curious as just how many modules do teachers get through in 1 year?
So that is one of the conversations we are going to engage in on June 4th. So the program is designed for 4 modules, each one being roughly 37 to 40 lessons. So we will teach a minimum of 3, modules 1 through 3 next year. All of the core ELA standards are covered in modules 1 through 3. So we are going to work with the teachers and have a conversation if we want to try tackling all 4 the first year, or if we will teach modules 1 through 3 and then continue with a previous study. It'll likely be a novel study or a book club study that was done in the past. So we'll have those conversations. We will come to consensus at each grade level, and the buildings will be aligned.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, I have a follow-up to that.
Yeah.
As somebody who devours books, to the chagrin of the Glenview Public Library. So I think I saw in module 4, I don't know which grade level it was about fever was I think the theme. as a microbiologist, I think it's great to have a little bit of a natural history and understanding of like, what has happened in the United States. And there's even a hospital named after Sir Walter Reed because of the discovery of yellow fever. That notwithstanding, I also noticed there's the arts and letters, and then is the was it Wit and Wisdom?
Yeah.
Is that by the same company?
It is same
How did
publisher.
we choose one versus the other?
Also a great question. Arts and Letters Wit and Wisdom is designed for a 90-minute ELA block, a 90-minute literacy block. And Arts and Letters, this is actually the first year of implementation for Arts and Letters as a program. It is designed for a 60-minute ELA block. So the Arts and Letters program, the curriculum is designed, it mirrors the Wit and Wisdom units, but it's designed for 60-minute comprehensive ELA blocks as opposed to 90.
So-
We would love a speaker if you're
Right, I
interested
know,
for
we-
that Module 4.
Anytime.
We got your name. Yep. You know where to find me.
Kids' eyes will glaze over.
There it is, the peanut gallery, yeah. Knew that was coming. Any other questions? Go ahead.
I just want to say, as a member of EDCO, it's really enjoyable to see everybody get really passionate and excited about these things, and piloting is a lot of work. And so I thank everybody for doing the work, and I really appreciate the mindful focus on printed texts and going a little bit more analog to kind of tie in with the concerns of a lot of the parents. And so, thanks.
Anyone else? Claire, since you brought it up, can I now assume that a study of daily life in the Middle Ages will be a component of middle age curriculum? Because I love that.
I think we have another guest speaker on our hands.
Welcome.
I too can give a presentation that will make them fall asleep. It'll be great.
We welcome. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
I want the community to realize also, this has been an ongoing process for the last year. So I want everyone to realize we've been thinking about our use of digital resources as we've been going about this. I don't want anybody to think this is happening in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Great point, Scott. And thank you again for all the work you've put into this, you and the pilot teachers as well. It's a lot extra, but clearly there's huge benefits here, so I appreciate it. So we will be voting to approve this curriculum via the resolution. So this is Resolution 26-036. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented?
So moved. Pritzker?
Gabby, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Dolan.
Aye.
Kamilevich.
Aye.
Supos. Moon.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Pritzker.
Aye.
Gilio.
Aye.
Motion passes. Congratulations, and get to ordering.
Thank you, presenters.
Our next item is 26-037, prevailing wages. Michael will be speaking to this. Michael, have you brought anything to share?
I have not.
Okay. Well, maybe next time.
And this really isn't a topic that lends itself to that, but maybe next year, so. Annually, the board has to approve the prevailing wages to be paid on jobs that are completed. Our prevailing wage, since we're in Cook County, comes from the Cook County Board. We typically do this at the May meeting, so I would request that you approve this. Not typically something that needs a lot of discussion. That's why we're going to do both in one night, so.
Okay. Any questions? No? All right. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented?
So moved. Dolan.
Second, Nelson.
Gabby, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Supos. Moon.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Pritzker.
Aye.
Gilio.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Kamilevich.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on, 26-038, annual certification of hazardous conditions. Back to you, Michael.
Another one that doesn't have any sharing items, so. Annually, the board has to approve hazardous routes. As you know, we have to provide transportation to students based upon certain criteria, and we have added criteria as a consolidated school district. So annually, we review to see if there are any additional routes that should be deemed hazardous and be designated so that transportation is provided. Rob did that review, and there are no new ones from this year, so this is the same list as last year that we're approving.
Okay, perfect. Any questions?
I just want everyone to realize OLPH is on there. I want everyone to know that we provide transportation for OLPH also.
Great point. All right, can I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented?
So moved, Moon.
Second, Pritzker.
Gabby, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Moon.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Pritzker.
Aye.
Gilio.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Kamalevich.
Aye.
Supos.
Motion passes. Moving on to 26-0339, Wesley Agreement. Back to you, Michael.
We have a agreement with Wesley to provide their child care services within the district. It has not been up for renewal until this year because the last renewal was a 3-year contract. This one is created in the same fashion. The only difference is that we put a 3-year increase on the room rate, which will bring it up to $7.21 per hour for the first room, $3.50 per hour for each room there. I'm sorry, $3.61 per hour each year thereafter, or each hour thereafter. And then it is again a 3-year agreement, and Wesley has already signed off on it.
Thank you. Questions? May I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented?
Second, Gilio.
Gabby, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Nelson.
Aye.
Pritzker.
Aye.
Gilio.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Kamalevich.
Aye.
Supos. Moon.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Moving on to number 5, 26-40, approval of the resolution awarding and assigning trade contracts for 2026 capital improvement site work at Glen Grove School. Michael, back to you.
Steve's going to explain our site work at Glen Grove.
Thanks, Steve.
Good evening. Tonight before the board, we're asking for approval of the capital improvement Glen Grove site work this coming summer. Similar to the previous approval of Lyon and Springman, this will include new asphalt and new concrete around the school. Since the bids for Lyon and Springman came in so favorable, and at the suggestion of the board, we went out to get numbers for Glen Grove, a third school, and still falls underneath the $3 million that was approved by the board. We're able to do all 3 schools this summer with approval. That'll leave us 3 schools left, Pleasant Ridge, Hoffman, and Atia, and moving forward, we'd like to knock those all out probably next summer, and then we will be complete with all the site work at the district. So, do you have any questions with that?
Just to note, there are 3 additional minor projects that are separate that are falling under a different scope of work that we're doing and fall under bid thresholds. That's why they're not part of this presentation.
Great. Questions for Steve or Michael? We're good? Thanks, Steve, for being efficient like that. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, can I have a motion and second to approve this resolution as presented?
So moved. Nelson.
Gabby, can I have a roll call vote?
Pritzker.
Aye.
Gilio.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Kamalevich.
Aye.
Moon.
Aye.
Supos. Nelson.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. And now for the topic everyone's been waiting for, the 26-041 copier.
Very exciting.
Recommendation.
Very exciting.
Copier and printer, I believe. actually.
Copy and printer. So
This is our gas discussion.
This is our gas discussion. Yes.
No comment. One of the things I think you're noticing a trend of conversations that we've had over the course of this past year and in preparation for this year is around being able to provide more non-digital opportunities. And while you may think we're just replacing our copiers, and that is accurate, we're actually taking a different approach to how we address the use of copiers. Currently, as I shared in the memo, we have a model where we have less copiers and more like one-off printers that are in different locations that serve a purpose of printing 1 copy, 2 copies, but not really the same volume that you would expect a copier to do. And so what has happened as we've transitioned even this year and last year to more paper-based opportunities, when those devices go down, it shuts down the environment and it shuts down the school. And we were at the end of our agreement last year, so we extended our devices 1 extra year, and we certainly ran into a situation where our copiers weren't meeting the needs even this last year that we wanted to. They were breaking down, and so really thinking through how do we want to approach our copiers moving forward. From a collaborative standpoint, we did have a committee of representatives from the building. There were several teachers that were part of it, but more importantly, the people who are most invested in knowing if the copiers work or not are the administrative assistants in the office, knowing if copies are done and left, if we're wasting copies and all of that. So we brought in a group of individuals to talk through our copier configuration, to talk through how it's set up. And as you'll see in the memo, what we're doing is we're transitioning from a model that had 2 copiers per building, if you're an elementary building, to 6 copiers. And if you're at a middle school, you went from 3 copiers to an environment where you have 10 copiers. Each copier, there are volumes of copiers, so we'll have a low volume, different places, but the overall message is that we're increasing the opportunity for making more copies when needed, and that if we do experience a time where some go down and they're not able to be fixed that day, that we have several others that staff can use as we're going forward. The other thing that we are switching to, which will be a unique, not for us, it is unique for us, it's not unique for education at all, it's not unique for businesses at all, is we're going to be using a print management component. And the print management will allow staff to make prints, and then they don't have to go to the copier right away. I mean, if you've been in a business, you know how this works. It is a change here in our district, and that's going to take some learning, some growth pains as it relates to that new, I have to go up there, swipe my card, hit print. It's a new process. Couple things that we know that it will provide is it will create less waste. We do have in our current structure, people print, forget they print, they go there later, find it. The secretaries see that there's 100 pieces of paper of things that weren't picked up. This will eliminate that, and it will allow for us to have specific configurations for our color copier so that staff can use it. Right now we have color printers, you have to go to it. You use a printer or a computer that's there, so there's going to be more flexibility in terms of that opportunity to make those prints. It also allows for in the long term for us to balance, okay, where are we seeing more prints? Where are we seeing more trends? Where are we seeing, different staff using it, and do we need to make an adjustment with that going forward? Overall, this change, as you saw, actually decreases our expenditure. The decrease is in large part because we're removing the printers that cost us a lot of money per copy to utilize, and those printers are printers that have been around for the most part. I mean, they're HP 4100s, HP 4050s. If you look at the history, they've been here since '04. I started in '04. They came in '04, '05. They've been workhorses. I mean, just amazing, but they're expensive to repair. The parts are out, and toner is not inexpensive for those. So this helps to bring down the per copy cost for us over the long term to an average savings, I think, over the 5-year agreement of around 111, 120. I say average because if we print more, we're going to spend more, but that's okay because we're making changes in terms of how we support our instruction. Sorry that went longer than Steve's.
I love it. Questions for Brian?
Does it say it's cheaper?
It is cheaper.
So we're saving money?
We are saving money.
Possibly a fair amount of money.
You should be talking a lot about it.
Yeah. Well, yes, it's an opportunity where the per copy cost is more aggressive, and when you combine the amount of money we were spending on our printers, not our copiers before, but our printers, it is a dramatic savings.
PaperCut is a wonderful tool.
Yes, I've used it before.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that at work too, and I mean, you used to see giant stacks of unpicked stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also good if there's something sensitive, like it doesn't.
It allows us, in theory, to decrease the amount of one-off printers, because special ed, being very sensitive information, has required more, and I'm just using special ed business, all areas have required more because they can't guarantee they're going to be the one picking it up, and if it has student information. So now it's, you just swipe.
It's terrific. Any other questions? Okay, so we're going to be approving this new contract, it sounds like, right? Yeah, okay. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented?
So moved, Pritzker.
Second, Gilio.
Gabby, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Gilio.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Kemalevich.
Aye.
Moon.
Aye.
Supos. Nelson.
Aye.
Pritzker.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we're going to move on to the discussion section of our agenda tonight. The first item on the discussion agenda is the resolution for interfund transfer operations and maintenance to capital projects. Turning it over to Michael.
Thank you very much. As Steve shared earlier, the board committed to $3 million a year over 10 years to complete the work that was not completed through the referendum. In this year, the budget contained $3 million for expenditure. It should be in capital projects. So as we typically have in the past few years, transferred money from either ed to O&M and O&M into capital, or capital into O&M into capital. That is what we're going to do. Because it was not specifically cited in the budget for that purpose, we wanted to give that opportunity to discuss that with the board if they wanted to go ahead and talk through that. But this is just typical to make sure that our capital expenditures are paid for out of Fund 60, so that when we do forecasting or when we're looking at budgeting, we're comparing an apples to apples number. So at next month's meeting, we will bring the transfer from O&M to capital. O&M to capital does not require a 30-day or a public notice. Ed to O&M does. That's why you may be used to a hearing, but in this case, they're not going to have one. That's the purpose of this discussion, so that we can go ahead and approve it next month. And then just so you know, because of some timing and issues, the way things were paid for of last year, which would be part of this year's transfer, because the fun part of the fiscal year is that part of it gets brought back and accrued back into the previous year for funds spent in this year. We did have some spend to take down Fund 60. So in the budget for next year, we've planned, when you see the tentative, you'll see it, a little bit of a larger transfer to cover the remaining portion of this year's work. We'll journal entry the work this year that should have been in Fund 60 but was paid for out of Fund 20, all for accounting purposes, again, for that planning and budgeting process. And then we are contemplating an additional transfer that we'll talk about to bring down some balances to avoid rate objections and help along the capital projects for next year. So this right now clears up the transfer that was planned in the budget but not identified specifically. It doesn't cause any thresholds to change as far as an amended budget goes. So we'll go ahead and do the transfer next month, and then we'll be all set to pay those bills. So.
So this is mostly about the accounting of how we move this money around, but I just wanted to reference so we can talk more about this when the next budget comes through. The $3 million itself came out of CFAC several years ago. There was a rubric behind that. It was when we were contemplating, once the referendum work was done, how much money should we allocate for maintenance over, let's say, the next 20-year period, specifically because that's how we ended up with a referendum in the first place, because we had not done maintenance. So that as Michael notes, is been in the budget. It's actually been in the budget projections, at least at the CFAC presentations for the past at least 2, maybe 3 years as sort of a placeholder. So just there's 2 separate things there. We can talk about that in more detail when we next talk about the budget. Any discussion on this particular transfer? All right. Thank you, Michael. Moving on. Oh, this is you again. Public hearing on the next budget. I'm not going to read the whole thing.
Yes, so by statute, we're supposed to set the dates for the public hearing, set the calendar for the budget. You guys did that back in January. This goes ahead and lets people know when we will go ahead and post the budget, when we'll go ahead and bring it as a tentative, and when the hearing will be on the final budget. This tracks with what the calendar has traditionally been, and we're looking forward to getting those public hearings on it going.
Terrific. Any discussion on that one?
I would just put it out there for those that are not familiar with pulling it down. July 15th is at the target date for the posting of the tentative budget. Yes. There we go. So July 15th.
Great. Okay. Our next item is instructional resources. Brian, take it away, please.
I have 3 wonderful people that will be helping.
Once I turn on, I have 3 wonderful people that will be helping with this presentation, so let me call them up. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. Thank you guys for the opportunity to share today and really recognize that this is a part of the conversation. This isn't the conversation. This is a point in time to share where we have been as a district, areas that we've talked about and done and focused on, but more importantly, where we see ourselves moving forward and how we see that conversation going, not just next year, but the next year and moving on for our students. First, I do want to introduce, we have 3 of our teachers from the schools. We have Chrissy from Matia, and they'll introduce themselves as well. Jen from Westbrook, and Katie is from Pleasant Ridge. And they're going to be able to share some information, again, about our steps as we've gone through this process. I'm going to try right now not to share everything that they're going to share. I have a tendency to leave it on one slide, and then I do an introduction that is about everything that we're going to talk about. However, I do want to just speak to that this is an opportunity for us to talk about the journey, to talk about the process that we're in, but more importantly, to share our immediate adjustments, our short-term and our long-term conversations. I think the important component is that for us, this is a yearly discussion. It's not always a yearly discussion where we come to the board and talk through, but it is a yearly discussion where we're talking about our resources, how we're integrating them, what we're using them for, whether that is the IS group or it's the IS group with our committee's structure, and we'll talk about that as we go forward. But it is something that we really take pride in being able to have conversations about how we're using our resources. Doesn't mean that we don't have areas for improvement each year and things that we're like, oh, we need to change this. There's changing demographics and how things are working. One of those things is last summer, we had a small committee of administrators and educators from the buildings come together on this exact topic, understanding that we were starting to see more research post the pandemic around the use of digital tools, seeing how other districts were starting that conversation, whether it was a productive conversation or it was a responsive conversation by those districts, and really trying to see how we were prioritizing our resources and what we wanted to look at as we went through this year in terms of moving forward. You have seen as a board
part of that play out already, and that is in the adoptions that Matt has brought forward, they have emphasized the non-digital components. While each of those tools, whether it's the primary with phonics has a digital tool that we are not focused on, the social studies, or the science that has a digital tool, but the focus was on getting textbooks and making it more analog. And then what you just saw in the presentation around ELA. And while they have a focus, they have a component that is digital, our focus as a district with this movement is to really focus on the tangible. You saw they don't call it a handbook or a workbook, but the Learn book as making that an important part. That's both strategic on our part, but also acknowledgement that this is a change that's taking place. That it's interesting that similar conversations took place in 2012, 2013 as technology was ramping in. And then COVID did create unique struggles and unique situations where technology became a driving force of that communication and that ability. And now it's about reflecting on what we have and how do we move forward from there. So I'm going to move to the next slide before I just talk about everything and talk about the fact that our core commitment as a district and ours as an instructional innovation team is not around technology. Our district, if you listen to conversations at EDCO, if you listen to conversations, our focus is about that human to human. Now, what we need to do is to make sure that our focus is being modeled throughout our buildings, and how do we do that is the next phase. But talking with our staff and talking with, when we're going over resources, it is about driving intentional use when we're using resources and making sure that it's not a passive resource to occupy time, something that you're using just as a filler. That has never been the intent of our one-to-one. It wasn't, if you look back to when we adopted it, it was actually a major component of what not to do in there. And part of our work moving forward is about how do we ensure that that's not a part of the conversation? How do we ensure that in our buildings, and we have some ideas already, and we are looking forward to the committee and the partnership with parents on additional ideas, but how do we move that forward? A major component remains digital citizenship. Whether we have technology in our schools or however we use it, kids are going to be at some point in their K-12 experience in an environment where they are online. And how are we preparing them for that? And the age appropriateness of that preparation. In being able to set the tone and identify with kids how they should be and how they shouldn't be using technology, both in school and out of school, because there is that crossover where, we have kids across our district that are using, our resources, and then they're using their own resources. And are you making the right decisions when you're not being watched? Are you an individual that, whether we're filtering and you're on your own home device, are you understanding the ramifications of what you're doing and how you're developing that? And the last thing, and I share this with our human, is it is to prioritize that human interaction. While we do believe that there are components where technology plays a role in helping create some efficiencies, create some opportunities that we don't have otherwise, that is not the norm. That should be the exception. That should be those enhanced opportunities versus the common item that we're using on a regular basis. So I'm going to pass it on to Katie, and she's going to share some of the more immediate changes that you'll see as we start next year, and some things that have actually already taken place.
So across all grade bands, device expectations will include clear instructional structures, active monitoring to prevent non-educational use, and storing devices when they are not in use, and eliminating unstructured open choice device. In the primary K-2 grades, devices will be used for identified opportunities. For focused instruction only, they will remain at school and not go home, and be stored in enclosed classroom carts. In the intermediate grades, 3 through 5, grade 3, the devices will stay at school. Grade 4 will allow very limited take-home use during the week and will stay at school over the weekends. And grade 5 will continue the take-home model while following our enhanced focus on intent around utilization. Grade 3 and 4 will be stored in enclosed classroom carts in the classroom. In the middle school, 6 through 8, device use expectations emphasize clear instructional structures and the storage of devices when not actively in use across all classrooms.
So this is all great to say, and it's a first step, but putting it to practice is the responsibility of us as a district, and working with our staff around what does this mean. It's keeping iPads at school. Okay, that's something we can tangibly do and just, they're staying at school. But how we use them at school and the intention of each of the opportunities with that device is our focus as we're moving forward. Some of the things that you'll notice that we didn't specifically talk to are that having the enclosed carts in the classroom means that the device is only coming out when it's going to be used. It's actually a practice, we don't have the carts currently, but it is a practice that a lot of our teachers use now. The iPads go somewhere, we get them when they come, when you need them, but instead of being the exception, it's going to be the norm in terms of having those devices stored, unless there's opportunities that are very specific, and there are other things we're going to talk about what that means, but that staff say, okay, now's the time where we're going to be able to use this for 15 minutes, whatever the activity is, versus having it readily available. I personally have my phone sitting in front of me right now, and as a person who, when you have that, there isn't a sense of wanting to see your phone or see something. Pulling that device away is a strategic move. It is not something we're just, we're going to store them so they can charge. We don't really, the charge lasts for a long time. It's pulling them away so that we're only using them when we need to use them. And again, we do have staff that do it currently. It's just making sure that this is the norm as we're moving forward. At the middle schools, I do want to emphasize that a focus of ours, and we know that at middle school there is, as they're going through and then they're going to high school, there is a larger use of technology. However, we do have programs like our ELA, like our science, where there are 60 minutes where you don't need your device. And so storing those as you come in will be, again, something that we currently do in some of our classrooms, but not all of our classrooms, but providing that area or that opportunity for teachers to say, okay, iPads are here, and so they're not there tempted as a student to use it, and they're only using it in those situations where the teacher has decided that this is that opportunity. Move on to the next one. Sorry.
Here's the continuum of tools and procedures that we currently have to keep our students safe. The first one is JAMP. That's our remote management platform. This allows us as a district to push out apps and updates and different restrictions. Sometimes those restrictions are based on grade bands, sometimes they're district-wide. Securely, that is our web filtering company. We use this to block websites, but also monitor student web usage. Securely sends alerts to our administrators to check in with students who are searching for sometimes inappropriate or potentially harmful content. Apple Classroom, that's our device management tool for our teachers. Teachers can use this during class to view student screens in real time. They can also perform other tasks like guiding students to certain websites or activities or locking students into a particular website. Gaggle is another management tool that monitors students, but this time in our Google Suite. It flags potential harmful or dangerous language in emails or docs, and also alerts our administrators if a student needs to be checked in with. However, the most important in our digital tool continuum is that human aspect. So our teachers using everyday classroom management practices, like Brian said, establishing those clear routines and practices, and also just proximity and presence helps us to make sure that our students are digitally safe.
Yeah, you'll find me adding to most slides. So I think the key takeaway around classroom management is giving the teachers the permission and the ability to, when you do store them, that they're not going to be used. Because again, especially with the middle school, when they have a device around, feeling the need to use it for something and making it intentional. Always looking at that intentionality of how we're using it and why we're using it, and giving people that permission that when we don't need to use it, classroom management and keeping it away is the way we're going to address it.
We are continuously evaluating our different configurations by grade band and district-wide and securely to help keep our students safe. We regularly consult with our security representatives, but also surrounding districts. This helps us stay ahead of potential emerging digital trends, both positive and negative. Our primary buildings, as you can see from the slide, have the most restricted profile. That means they have access to the least amount of outside internet. Our intermediate buildings have a restricted profile, but that gradually increases independence as students increase in grade. And then our middle schools have our most open access, but we're also continuously evaluating the need and blocking different sites if issues should arise. In addition to all our tools and our securely configurations, we also have procedures around cell phones and wearable technologies to, again, keep our students digitally safe. The current expectation is that students are not allowed to use personal devices for communication outside of school, and as you can see, the slide goes over those procedures surrounding that expectation.
So just as a reminder, we have always had a cell phone bell-to-bell ban. We do have students that challenge that situation on a more regular basis, and so we deal with it as we go through. But just as an awareness, it's not, the cell phones aren't going to, we know how to manage the cell phones. The wearable devices is going to be a conversation that, as a committee, that we have to really put our minds together with the community about how we handle wearable devices. Because a child has an Apple Watch. I'm not a super techie, so I have a watch that actually doesn't work right now, but it's not even an Apple Watch, it's non-digital. And we have students that will go to the bathroom, call home, text home, and outside of taking the watch away, it's hard to know what's going on, and that's a real-world situation. All of a sudden, we have a parent show up at a school that says, "My kid texted me," so now we can handle the outcome, we can do this is your first offense conversation, but it is something that's happening in our schools, and that we really need to talk about how we're going to address that moving forward, because they are different than a phone, because a phone you have to take out, it's always on a person's wrist. I want to talk a little bit about, we believe strong in the recommendations, in the movement that we're going with not sending devices home, with having more restrictions. However, it does have some drawbacks to it, and I want just the board to be aware of what some of those are. When devices go home, there is monitoring that takes place. Kids are searching different things, and a lot of that at-home monitoring that we see is around self-harm. And this is not just middle school, this is all the way down to first grade. Searches around suicide, searches around self-harm, searches around bullying, whatever the topic is, it happens. And we're able to have conversations with it. Again, we're not arguing that this is a reason to keep it. We're saying these are just things that happen at home that have allowed us opportunities to talk with students, to hear why they did it. For the most part, our youngest kids are searching suicide because they heard the word. It's not necessarily that they want to commit suicide, but it is something that we see on a daily basis, these types of searches. The other thing is that for many of our families, and we found through COVID, for many of our families, our device is their device at home. Not the kids, the parents, and we're okay with that. And so there will be situations where, because we do currently provide internet access for a portion of our population that doesn't have access for whatever reason, and again, a lot of that came out during COVID, but we feel it's important for those families where they may have a cell phone at home, but they're trying to do their medical records, or we feel an obligation to continue to provide it. So there will be a small number of students that that still take their device home. Now, it's important to note that we don't want to single out those families, so trying to figure out the way in which we're going to do that is something that we have to talk about over the summer. And the other component is we will have, as you saw earlier, we have students that this is their means of communication. And so with the IEPs and with that, we also have a small number of students that will take their device home. The vast majority obviously will follow the guidelines that we're coming up with.
These next steps really are about moving from conversation to intentional action while staying aligned to our district's strategic plan and guiding principles. A key shift is returning to pre-COVID summer practices by collecting and storing iPads in district buildings over the summer. This reinforces that devices are instructional tools, not an always-on expectation. At the same time, we are maintaining flexibility and equity by creating exceptions for families who rely on school devices as primary communication tool. We want this work to be collaborative and data-informed, which is why we are building in both parent and staff surveys during the fall 2026. The surveys will help us better understand what is working, where concerns exist, and how these practices are impacting learning, engagement, and family experiences. The Instructional Innovation Committee will continue to serve as an ongoing feedback and reflection structure throughout the year, bringing together staff, leadership, the PTA, GEF, and parent voices.
I'm going to come back to this after the next slide.
The Instructional Innovation Committee reflects a long-standing commitment in our district to thoughtful, evolving instructional practices. While the committee's name and focus have evolved over time, the core purpose has remained consistent, supporting student learning in meaningful and responsible ways. Earlier versions of the committee focused heavily on devices, software, and access, especially as technology became more integrated into schools. Over time, the work expanded to include digital citizenship, instructional integration, and broader questions about how technology impacts teaching and learning. Post-COVID, the committee has intentionally shifted away simply managing devices and toward a broader focus on instructional support, innovation, and inquiry. That shift is important because it reinforces a major theme throughout this presentation. Technology itself is not the goal. Strong learning experiences are the goal. The committee's work now centers on asking important questions. How do we support engagement and achievement? How do we maintain balance and developmentally appropriate practices? And how do we ensure equity and meaningful outcomes for students? Ultimately, the committee helps us remain responsive, reflective, and aligned with the district's vision of creativity, innovation, curiosity, and student-centered learning.
One of the things I want to stress is that when we talk about balance, oftentimes people think 50-50, and that is not what we're referencing when we're saying balance. It's that we're using whatever resource intentionally and focused on that resource for a specific need that's been identified. And so when the committee is talking, they're really focused on the whole child and how we're addressing the whole child throughout this process. I do want to stress that the work of the committee next year will be important, but there will be work that's taking place over the summer as well to get us started on the right foot as we hit the school year, that we don't want to wait specifically for a committee to have conversations and that bigger picture in the survey. We know that we want to provide staff with some, hey, this is the appropriate opportunity to use a device. These are not appropriate opportunities to use device. And be very specific. You can call it a bookshelf. You can call it a yes and a no. You can call whatever you want to call the examples are. But really, if we're going to ask teachers to be more mindful, providing them examples that are more mindful and providing them examples of how we can use the resource and how we will not be using the resource moving forward. And then it's our job as a district to monitor, to when we're in the classroom. Obviously, and this was shared with me, and I know if I'm coming into the classroom, people know I'm coming in, they're going to follow whatever guidelines. But having all of our staff be accountable to each other on how we're using the resources. This is not, some of the changes aren't instant. People have lessons, they have things, and it's providing them alternatives, providing them examples of how we can use other means to accomplish the same goal. Am I the timeline?
Yep.
Okay. This is just a communication timeline. We started, and I did even, this is the communication part, but going back to last summer and having these deeper discussions and then having them with the IS and our leadership team throughout the year. But in late April, we did provide the board with an update that talks about, where we're at, what we're thinking. We also began, in collaboration with the GF, a think tank team. While that has really nothing to do with the specifics around digital resources, it has to do with what our focus is, and that is developing and working with community members on integrated, interactive activities and opportunities where our students can prosper with their curiosity, with their collaboration, minus having or not having technology as the focus. May, we had a IS update to staff about in the board meeting family sharing, parent direct communication about iPads. Some schools have already communicated that they're staying. You may have gotten that communication. Some have not yet because it's in this Friday's communication. Hopefully they'll read the board update and see that it's in there about our changes. This summer, seeking staff, we have our IAS representatives, but seeking participants for our instructional innovation committee for the following year. And knowing that it's not a one-trick conversation. It's not just about screen time. It's about how are we using our resources across the district, and that this is a year conversation, and then next year it's another conversation, then it's another, and it's evolving, because if we do it as a singular place in time, we're going to be in the same spot that you run into with our construction, or where it's all of a sudden it's piled up. And so making it an annual conversation for both the district and the community. And then in early August, reminding staff, sharing with staff our stuff, but also reminding parents, what is our new stance? How are we evolving with our practices across the buildings? I want to reiterate that it's not going to be perfect. This is a lot of change, a lot of conversations that are taking place. I believe as a collective whole, our staff is welcoming to these opportunities. I also know that there's going to be some more conversation around, oh, I did use it for this, you're saying now you would rather us do something, in working with our staff through that. I think I'm talking about GF as well. I always like to highlight the GF in our conversations, and the reason I highlight it is because they have been a major supporter of our digital support, but even more so of our non-digital. If you look at our major adoptions with the GF over the last 10 years, they've included our maker modules, which are all hands-on. They've included our learning spaces, which was all about creating environments for kids to collaborate, there wasn't intentional to say not technology, but we weren't including technology in that. And around our support of inquiry. They supported our STEM night. If you were able to participate in STEM night last year, it was an opportunity to have parents and students doing activities around science and around inquiry together.
And our kindergarten play.
In our kindergarten play, if you talk about when we adopted all-day kindergarten, a major focus of that was a play-based kindergarten, not a AI or a tech-based kindergarten. It was about utilizing play as a key component of our instruction. I just want to close with, when I talk to the board, I always say this, Matt has the wonderful privilege of talking about test scores and talking about how well that we're doing with our curriculum and how well we're doing at integration. I like to talk about our core dispositions, because at 22, at 23, I want our kids who went through the district to still be resilient. I want them to be curious, collaborative, joyful, empowered, compassionate, creative, and reflective. That doesn't mean they have to use technology. It doesn't mean they don't have to use technology. It means that these are what we guide ourselves on, and so when we're developing the list of how to use it, it's with this in mind. Because I believe at our core, if our kids leave with this, they'll be incredibly successful as they go through high school and college and beyond. So that concludes that part of it. I'm positive that there are questions, and so I'd be happy to have our team of individuals answer those questions. I'm also positive that there are things I left out, and that I'll be able to follow up with those later.
Well, thank you, Brian. Thank you, team, for coming and presenting. Who would like to kick us off?
If I must. This is great, and thanks for framing the presentation today to both acknowledge, address, and then also keep open that we don't have to have all the answers, but we're making progress, right? Just a couple reactions.
Yeah.
Number one, I think it's helpful for everybody to hear, and we'll probably need to repeat this over and over, but to acknowledge and reinforce empowering our instructors, all the teachers, and also to use their professional judgment as to how does technology enhance the learning experience, or how does it not? And for all of our teachers to feel comfortable making that judgment, because that is their skill. Reaction or idea, take it for what you will. I'm going to age myself, but some folks here are going to recognize that. It was awesome when the television VCR cart would be rolled into the classroom when you're growing up and be like, all right, here we go, right? There's probably a similar kind of approach or something to the experience of the iPad cart and what that could represent for at least our K1, 2s, as we think about how this model may evolve, so that it maybe doesn't necessarily need to be one-to-one.
Correct.
Not to say that we don't have an answer now, but you'll be everybody's favorite person if you're walking around with the wagon and iPads, Brian. So just putting that out there.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I want to acknowledge, hearing the other dimensions to this, so that it's not a black or white issue, right? There's a lot of gray space in this topic that hits individuals, families, and the today, the tomorrow, and beyond. And as we continue to kind of go through this journey together, certainly echo what Alex kind of led off with in terms of how do we do this as a community without finger pointing or without accusation, but still passion and emotion, because everybody who shows up here, whether it's here or there, is committed to the success of their students, of the community, of their kids, and each other. And so I just want to continue to assert that as a concept and pillar for how we continue to drive this model. and that some of the things that you identified are certainly solvable, even if we don't have the answers today. So thanks to everybody, Brian, and really, to everybody who's kind of shared any of this or feedback over the last, couple months and even years.
Thank you. I do like to share with people in conversations that, in terms of that collaboration and how important it is from a leadership standpoint, all of us value Glenview. We wouldn't work here if we didn't value the climate and culture that's with the school district, but we all have our own communities. And in those communities are where I advocate my values and my components with my school board. And that here, it's about me recognizing the professional components of my job and working with the community to represent the values and the components of this community and how this community, in this case, looks at using resources. So we definitely look forward to and I've been here 22 years, have valued that partnership and that ability to work with different groups of people throughout those years to make change. Glenview has always been an area where we're not following, we're leading those conversations. And I think it's because of that ability to have open conversations that has helped us out a lot.
Thank you for this presentation. Okay. I just want to chime in with a couple quick notes too. I also really appreciate it and thank you for your time on this work. I appreciate the mindset around the evolution. You mentioned at the beginning, I meant to say, kind of the immediate short and long-term goals of this and knowing that it will continue to evolve. And I think that's so important. We have to be responsive to as trends change, as research comes out and evidence around best practices. And that's what keeps us such a great district. So thank you for that. In that same light, I'm wondering, given this is evolving, what is the flexibility around continuing once the survey results come out in the fall? Maybe not always waiting a full year, right? But how do we kind of implement as we go?
Yeah.
Also recognizing change management is a process. So kind of how do we balance that and making sure that we are being responsive to needs as they go? I think this is a really good start. The other part to the change management component is, first, I think a lot of our curriculum resources are reflecting some of these changes, and I appreciate, it's obvious there's collaboration in the district, which is really important. But what else might our educators, our teachers need, in addition to having the hands-on materials? Where are there reasons and root causes why tech is maybe being used in ways that are less helpful, right? Or being used as incentives or as free time or, and where are there other supports that may be needed or resources needed to help provide more productive activities or whatever that may look like. So in addition to the change management that's happening around curriculum, I'd be interested in how else are we supporting our educators and really, I know you mentioned monitoring and looking at how it's being used, but in terms of kind of getting to some of the root causes of why it's being used.
Yeah, I think that's important, and I don't have a specific answer, but I do have, as a committee and as a conversation that we've had, it's when you remove something, you should be able to provide, especially for our staff, answers to what are options they can do instead. If a staff member may have been using it in one way, and we're like, okay, no longer are you even remotely going to be using that way, by just taking it away doesn't help that staff member, but giving them options and giving them examples and professional development around those, and working with our staff to figure out what those answers are. We have some that do it already, they know, and so taking and borrowing from others, I think, will be an important component. Thank you.
Thanks for taking on this work. I know you've been working on it for a while. I want to keep our eyes focused the next 3 years. I think with AI is going to change a lot of our perceptions as we move forward. So let's try and be nimble.
Yeah, AI, I didn't even bring up AI in this conversation because it is an ever-changing, last 3 months if you've been following, and it is a scary, there is a lot of scariness to AI. I use it, I'm sure a lot of us use it, but if you are doing research around it, and you understand the potential that it, on a positive front, awesome. The negatives, it can get really scary, and trying to balance that for our kids who are growing up in a world that has this now, where a picture that's made of me may not be me, but it looks a lot like, and that's just a basic component. So I think it's every 6 months you're going to see dramatic changes in what influence that has on, especially I'm keep beginning with high school. Like, my daughter's in college and she sees kids using AI. She's at a wonderful university that all the kids got into and we're so happy, and then they get there and they use AI. And you're like, what have they been taught? So helping students with that is, I think, and adults, is major. Thanks, Scott.
And Brian, I believe the ISB's coming out with AI guidance for schools this July, correct? So maybe
I'm sure they are.
We'll see what we can build off of that.
Yes, I'm sure they are. Can I just share though, the stance we have currently with AI is we're not blind to the fact that kids use AI. We're not blind to the fact that it's available. We are, as a district, we are not endorsing, we block it internally from our devices. And we do have a walled garden AI that it allows, we haven't rolled it out for all of our middle school students, but some are using the walled garden environment. And the reason I call it a walled garden is because it's our ChatGPT where we know what they're searching, we know what they're getting, we know where that information's going, we see everything that's happening. So if you're going to use it, and we can funnel you in a manner that we can at least monitor and help educate you on, it's better than kids going home, getting off our device, going to ChatGPT or whatever, Claude, any of them, and just free for all, getting information and then pasting it in there. So again, it's a education component. It's not being blind to the fact that they're using it, but being aware and trying to, just like we have the filters, help them guide through the process.
I just, like Mickey's Apprentice.
Yeah.
And first you have to learn how to use the bucket and the mop, and then you can outsource. And I think I appreciate the fact that we are focusing on learning the skills and the scaffolds before you unleash the beast. So thank you for all your thought.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for this. This is really, really great. I just had a clarification I was wondering about. So it sounded like you guys were going to continue kind of working over the summer, which you typically don't work in the summer.
So I do.
Well, the committee.
Correct. Not the committee, a group of the IASs. So because we can't pull the whole committee together over the summer, pulling some of the IASs to do summer work. And the summer work is intentional so that we're getting, as we talked about, Eva talked about, we don't want to start the year and then be like, okay, we're going to have a committee now, and then and then all of a sudden it's December, January, February, and you're like, what have we done? It's to give the work that we know we can get done over the summer an opportunity to start fresh with the school year. And then the committee can talk about, okay, these are the things we've already done. We're going to get the survey results. What do we want to enhance? What do we want to change? What policies and procedures do we need to focus on? What do we need to bring to the board around policy so that it can better support it? Would that group would not be responsible for that? They'd be responsible for things like, hey, if we're telling staff not to use the resource for, we tell them now, but if we tell them to say, hey, if you've been using it for a reward, or you've been using it for something that isn't necessarily the best means to use that, here are examples of things you can do, so that they start the year with, hey, we're really enforcing not using it, but here are things you can do to do it. That's what that group will be working on.
Got it. So basically they'll just kind of have more clarification before they start the school year.
Correct.
Got it.
So that we start the school year with them
great.
implementing versus just waiting for more information. Anything else?
Just want to say, clearly this is one of the issues of the moment and increasingly a challenge as we go forward, not just based on the work that, your team has done, but obviously we've gotten a lot of feedback from our parent community as well. I am very encouraged. I know you have engaged with a lot of folks over the past couple of weeks to sort of, bring in some of that additional information. I'm encouraged that not only have we done that, but we are looking to harness that going forward. Input from our parent community. I know we have a couple of board members who are very interested in being involved as well, and so encourage you and your team to keep that up, and possibly a more casual conversation with some folks over the summer might be good to seed some ideas as we get into the new year.
I definitely think we'll continue. I've had great conversations with representatives from the community, and definitely believe that there are some thought leaders in our community around this topic, but also around their kids. I also stress to people, and I was told this a long time ago, your kid goes through school once. Advocate for your child, advocate for their experience, and we are here to partner, and I think that's, again, another nice thing about the district. We don't ever claim to do everything perfect, but when there are situations to improve, I think Glenview has been notorious for making adjustments and working with the community on implementing those best practices. And that started with when we did the one-to-one, how did you start this process? That was community-driven as well, and we're just evolving, but keeping that conversation going forward.
Terrific. Well, again, looking forward to a lot more. Thank you, Brian and team, very much for coming here tonight and for all of your work. And I can't wait to see how we continue to work collaboratively to take this forward. Thank you all so much. The last item in our discussion section is press issue 121. I hope someone else knows about this because I don't. Is that you?
Yeah, in the riveting world of board policy, we do have some revisions for you to consider, and so as a reminder, we do use the School Board Association's press service, so these policies are reviewed by a team of attorneys, suggestions are made. Most are usually, I would describe as non-substantive. The ones that are, I try to always call to your attention. So these are for your review and then approval at our next meeting.
Thank you. Did anyone have any discussion on the press issue this time?
Super value add for capitalizing E's and L's at times.
Okay. That's great. Okay, so we've come to our second audience comments section. Before I read all of this, do we have any audience comments?
I do not.
You do not. All right, so we will go ahead and skip forward to reports. We have the FOIA report and the monthly budget report. Any questions or comments there? No?
I just want to mention that the new monthly budget report looks really great. Can't wait to give you some feedback on that as we move forward, but it's so much more comprehensive and easier to understand.
Great. Do we have any other business? All right, now before we adjourn, 72 years ago today was Tuesday, May 18th, 1954, and that date was the day after the Supreme Court, in a unanimous decision, sent down the decision on Brown versus the Board of Education, which laid the legal framework to end segregation in United States public schools. And I just think, based on everything we've talked about tonight, equality, equity, the importance of American public schools has never been higher, and the provision of a good public education to all children. And I think that's a great way to probably end the conversation tonight. Thank you all, and we are adjourned.
All right. I didn't know where that was going for a second, but you got it. Do you know, actually, fun fact, Ruby Bridges is alive and a public speaker?